Hey friends, welcome back. This is the Intermittent Chess Speed Run. I'm George, and this is episode 8. We're going to jump straight into a game, and we get the white pieces against Invisible underscore Woman from France, who's rated 573. We're going to play 1d4, go for the London, and they play e6, which I guess if we play 4, they might play some French. But I think we could just going to play bishop f4, stick to our London. I guess their plan is to... No, I thought their plan might be to play d5. And then maybe put their bishop out and trade off the bishop, but no. They play knight to c6, which is actually not a brilliant move in the London, which I've discussed before, spoken about why. And I think our next move is just going to be e3. Yes, they can check us, but blocked with the pawn, so it's no major problem. They bring the queen to f6. Now this is some very interesting chess by our opponent. They hit the bishop. They are attacking the center, kind of. I guess this check is still a thing, but again we can block. I guess there is an idea to take the pawn. We take with our pawn and they take the bishop, but if they take with the knight, we can just take the queen, so that's no problem. I think we're just going to play knight to f3. e5 is not a thing now. And I think maybe our idea could be to play bishop to d3, yeah, and bishop to g5, and in that position the queen would be trapped, so let's go bishop to 3. Maybe they have some knight before. Okay. They're kind of lucky because now the queen can go to this square, so beforehand, if they played something, I don't know, let's say bishop e7, then bishop g5 would have actually trapped their queen. So it makes sense they push the pawn, because now the queen has some escape route. We can start with this move, I think. So it doesn't really do anything. I guess if we take, the knight takes, and I mean, yeah, this is just a free pawn at the end of the day. So there's still maybe some knight before action at some point. You could jump. With a knight, and then the queen has to go back somewhere, probably. Although I think maybe knight here is also a good move. We could also just castle. Maybe, do we have any other attacks? Not really. Okay, let us just... I mean, knight g5 does look like a nice move and probably is the best move. After queen, let's say e7. Do we have any follow-up? The bishop can't attack the queen, so don't really see one. If we put a knight in the middle, we kind of force a knight trade. Pawns would take, pawn would take, and a nice center. Maybe let's do that. Obviously the knight's moved and is attacking the queen, so there is no time to take the pawn in the center. Okay, they moved the queen. So yeah, I think it was probably best to just trade queens. Obviously we didn't have to, but I think it was just simple, and now we can just take this knight as well. Damage the structure a bit, and let's just castle the king. We have nice bishops in the center. Pawn structure is a little bit damaged, but nothing to write home about. So is theirs, and especially now they castled long, it's even worse. So we do have a check on the a6. The bishop goes this way. The king goes to b8, sorry. I guess we can start with that move. Take some squares away from the king. This bishop standing here looks nice, but doesn't actually do anything. And I think now, what should we do? We should probably start bringing in more pieces, right? We could kick the bishop, but again, it doesn't do anything. So let's well, the thing is, this bishop is controlling this square at the moment, you know. is controlling d1. So maybe let's get the bishop and see what it wants to do. See if he wants to hang around or if he's going to go home. Okay, he's gone into the position, tried to attack our rook, but I think that's just a big blunder because our bishop can come backwards. These are some of the hardest moves to see in chess. Come back and capture the bishop, and now we're just up a piece. So now we're winning. And our opponent pushes a pawn, trying to create some play, which makes sense. I think though we can just put our rook on d1, and they can't take because we will take their rook. So obviously they can play some c6 move or put the bishop on c5. Yeah, they try and break out the position, but this is just a free pawn in the middle. If they take, I'm happy to take with the bishop. And we have a nice strong center. We could take with the pawn. Our rook is defended by the bishop on the back rank, but there's no need to allow that kind of complication. So we'll just take with the bishop, and we are up a piece. So maybe we'll just start trading pieces. And okay, they go knight to h6. I guess I want to maybe come back to f7, kick the bishop. Makes sense. I think we can probably. Do we have any other attacks? Not really. So how about we push the c pawn like this, and we want to just bring our knight out. Obviously, if they go back to f7, they'll be attacking the bishop, but we could probably just bring it back and maintain a nice long-range bishop. I play c5, and obviously if we take, then the rooks see each other. We are just up a piece, so we can start trading pieces, to be fair. But I also kind of like this move. If we go here, I think our opponent wants to go like this and actually skew at our bishops. So how about instead we go like, let's just play knight c3. If they take, we'll take. We could even take with the rook, trade some more pieces. I think we can just take with the bishop, right? Yeah, this is fine. And we're just up a bishop. And the knight hops into the middle, which is, again, fine with us. We can bring the bishop back, or we can put the bishop on e5. Yeah, I think this is nice. Offer the rook trade. If the rook goes to e8, looks like it's skewing our bishops again, but this time the one at the back on e2 is actually defended by the knight, so we can actually just bring our bishop all the way back to h2. This bishop is defended by this knight. There's probably some idea to play bishop b4, take the knight, and then take the bishop, but we don't have to do that, or we don't have to allow that anyway. So I think what we should do, I do just want to start trading some more pieces. We can't move this knight because it's defending the bishop. So how about we just move the bishop to, let's say, this square. Opens this file for the rook, but the rook can't get in. The bishop is probably going to go up to G7. And from G7 it will see our knight, so we do have to think about that. But G5 I don't really understand. I think maybe, what should we do? We have some options. So we could up the knight in the middle, maybe threaten to get in, maybe threaten this pawn. Yeah, I kind of like that. We'll be threatening c7, this long range bishop, all the way back on h2. It's hard to see, you know? So maybe our opponent does want some bishop g7, targeting. Yeah, maybe our opponent does want some bishop g7 targeting b2 pawn, but I mean, if they ever take it, then we can just move the rook over and we'll be pinning the bishop to the king. So, and yeah, they did not see our threat, which was to take on c7. Now, obviously, taking on c7 with the bishop is a check. The king, let's say, goes to a8. Then the knight can move, let's say, to f6, and it'll be a discovered attack on the king, or discovered check. If we take with the knight, then we're also hitting the rook. I think we can just take on c7. The bishop, if they go to c7, then we can play bishop to g4, which will pin the knight to the king. They don't do that. What can we do? Okay, again, let's, well, they are still making contact with our bishop, which is important to notice. And I would like to move the knight, deliver a discovered check, but then they will take the bishop. So I'm just going to bring the bishop all the way back. And we do have to start playing a bit faster as well, because we only have 1 minute and 49 seconds. This pin, or this, sorry, I guess X-ray is pretty bad. And yeah, they fall straight for it. So we can move this knight and it will check on the king from the bishop. And we can move the knight and attack their rook as well. So they will be losing the rook on the next move. Their best move is probably to move the rook in front of the check, but then that would be pinning the rook obviously to the king, which wouldn't be too good. And because then at that point, if we take and they take back with the king, they would get a bishop for the rook. Where at this point in time, obviously if they leave it, yeah, we're just going to take the rook, and we have a free rook. Obviously, like I said, if they take on b2, yeah, this is also just not too good, because now, yes, they were attacking the bishop, but now we're going to move the rook, pin the bishop to the king. So this is basically game over. And yeah, they can't defend the bishop. Yeah, they try attacking, and we could even just take here first. And now 2 pieces are hanging as well. The knight has to move somewhere, yep, here, and now we're just going to take the bishop and wait up a lot of material, 2 bishops and a rook. And yeah, let's see, there probably is some checkmate somewhere. Let's start by giving check, which is actually just checkmate. I noticed as I played it well. Nice. We actually had 2 misses as well, so let's jump into analysis. Okay, so we played well. We played with 88%. We had 1 inaccuracy, which was putting the bishop on e5. Oh, we actually had discovered. Yeah, wow, I should have seen this. We actually could have played when the knight came to attack the bishop. We could have played bishop a7, and if the king goes to a8, we take the rook, and if it goes to c8, we. Oh, I thought there was a check with the pawns in a way. I mean, but yeah, we'll just be able to take, and yeah, kick the knight out, I suppose. So yeah, let's go all the way back to the beginning. I think. Let's see what else did the computer want us to do. Rook takes. Rook. Here was okay. These are misses because the computer saw some checkmate, but I think it was important just to introduce new patterns and new ideas. Like, for example, when the bishop takes on b2, you move the rook to pin the bishop to the king. The computer called this a miss because it saw some checkmate in 2. Bishop c7, king a6, and bishop e2. Knight c5. It's checkmate. Yeah, nice. So this is actually what was a miss, because we did have just had checkmate, but this was also fine. We're still winning. Again, we also had another miss because the computer saw checkmate, but I wanted to just show some more patterns. Obviously now the knight is hanging and the bishop is hanging, so the knight moves, we take the bishop. But let's go all the way back to the beginning. We played d4, going for our London system. They played some weird e6 and knight c6, which is not too good because we just play our normal setup. And yeah, when the queen comes to f6 early, there's always some idea of playing knight f3, bishop d3, and bishop g5, which, like I said, would just trap the queen. So I did see this vague idea, which is why I played knight f3 first. They played e5, we played bishop d3, and like I said, if they play something like bishop d7, bishop g5 would actually just trap the queen. The queen can't go to any of these squares, without being captured. So I did have this idea in mind. They played e5, which obviously creates escape for the queen, but there's also just a free pawn. And yeah, like I said, I thought the best move, knight g5 is one of the best moves. The other best move is just a castle, which makes sense. Knight g5 is one of the best moves. Queen goes back, and the computer wants just some knight c3 and get the pieces out. Makes sense. We played knight to d4, offering some trade, and then we traded queens. We took their knight, we castled, and we gave a check. We didn't have to give this check. Obviously, we could just develop our pieces, but I think bishop a6 was nice just to control squares around the king. We played h3. I just wanted to see what this bishop was doing, and yeah, this is obviously, the computer says it's a mistake, but in my book this is a big blunder because it does just give up the bishop in one move. These are some of the hardest moves to see in chess. Obviously, the idea was to just move and attack the rook and make the rook move, but it's hard to see that the bishop comes back and takes the bishop for free. And we didn't have to take, but we didn't take. We put the rook on d1 first, and we just took on d4. They took on a5. We took the bishop. Knight e6, I guess, is to try and get pieces out. And my idea here was just to play c4 and put the knight on c3. They played c5, which was a nice move, trying to fight back. d5 is not so good because of rook e8 with the skewer, like I said. And yeah, the computer does want f4, so the skewer doesn't even work. But it kind of made more sense to me, at least, just to bring the knight out and just trade the pawns in the center. And yeah, this was the move where we actually had a miss because we did have bishop a7, and obviously if the king goes to the corner, then we will just take this rook for free, which means that after this check on a7, the king is forced to c8, and we can just start trading more pieces, bring the rook in. So yeah, it would have been nice to see, but we just put the bishop in the middle, eyeing up c7, which is a nice weak square, and this time there's a skewer because the bishop at the back is defended by the knight. So I just brought the bishop all the way home to h2, started lining up some pieces towards the king, hop the knight into the middle, and also by putting the knight in the center, we also attacked c7. And I didn't see it, so we took on c7, king forward. Now what I did see here was that we could move this knight with check, discover check with this bishop, but then they could take our bishop, and yes, we would take, then we'd be given 2 pieces for the rook. So it made more sense to me just to bring the bishop back first, the rook moves, and then we move the knight with a discover check and attack the rook. And like I said, the best move was to play rook c6, because then at least if we take, they get a bishop for the rook. But if they didn't do that, unfortunately, they just gave us a rook for free. They took on b2, and obviously this is where we had a miss because the computer saw some checkmate in 2 moves, which obviously is very nice, but I think it was more important just to recognize some good patterns and recognize that when the pawn takes on b2, the bishop takes a pawn on b2, the rook can move and pin the bishop to the king. We could have just taken on b2, sure, and then taken back, but I thought taking back was nice because then two pieces are basically hanging. Knight moves, take the bishop, and yeah, rook to d6 was a nice checkmate. The knight covers the escape squares, north and south of the king. This rook covers the b file, and yeah, this bishop is defending the rook. So another nice game, and yeah, we're now rated 610, so we're past the 600 mark, which is an awesome milestone to reach. Slowly, we're making our way up the rating ladder. I'm sure 1,000 is not too far out of reach. We'll get there at some point. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next episode.